I'm anxious to talk about the show in American Society of Bispo, and with you mostly because you're in the Bispo Art Museum in Rio de Janeiro, isn't it?
I've been working there for 9 years. I think it's the most long time I'm working in an institution. I'm really happy with this. I think it's a very important job. Take care of this work and this museum that take care of his work. I'd like to thank for Carla Lustini for organizing this encounter, no? And the people from American Society, our colleagues, no? That organized this exhibition we have running in the American Society in New York. No? All the Bispo do Rosario, all the existing materials in the world, in the earth. Leda, you give some suggestion for this conversation, some topics, no? And
Yeah.
the first you list on these topics, no? We can talk about this discussion, this debate we have, art and madness, no? A discussion that there is no end. Always we are returning on this, if art made by madness people is art or not. No? I would like to use what Mário Pedrosa wrote in 1946 after he saw an exhibition from the Museum of Imagens do Inconsciente. How can I say this in English? Unconscious images, no? Here in Rio de Janeiro too, in another hospital, in another madness house, where Nisa Silveira worked with another artist, and they opened an atelier of artists, and they organized this exhibition. Mário Pedrosa saw this show, and he wrote after seeing this show, art is a necessity, madness is a necessity for art, something like that. Do you agree with this? What do you think about this? It's a very complicated subject.
I've been an artist like for 40 years now, and because I start very early on my 20s, and then I teach painting and drawing for a long time on studios, or like studios in museums, but also on the university. And then I said to my students, because when you have a class of students, you never know which one will be an artist or a good artist. And we had this discussion that you become an artist if you doesn't fit, like you feel you doesn't fit for other job, you know, like your mother likes you to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, but then you just like to draw and you just like art, and then you the crazy people, you the crazy guy on your family, and then you become an artist. It's like if you have no other way, you'll go for arts. And I think this is a bit unfair, because I think artists are so talented, like using intelligence and in another way, in unusual ways, and moving themselves through society in a very particular way, like creating situations and creating spaces for their own art. If you work with painting, drawing, installation, or even music, or even theater, movie, and I like a lot writings, you know, and then you create something new, something that never been there before. And for this, you have to take a chance. You have to risk. And I think this is not that easy to do.
About this, I would like to read something I wrote here about Bispo do Rosario. One day, a simple appeared. That is how Arthur Bispo do Rosario described the beginning of his mission on earth. I came, he embroidered on one of his uniforms, affirming a trajectory which, for as much as it can be described as delirious, cast a revealing light from inside an asylum for insanes on the chaos of finite colonial normality. With this gesture, he deconstructed the violence of uniforms that the asylum's patients were forced to wear, transforming them once again in thread, with which he wrapped singular objects. He recovered small things from daily life that had been discarded, just like the patients of the institution, in a process of regeneration that offers us case for a new weaving of the world. Wearing his mantle, a sort of cartography, summary of his oeuvre, Bispo bore all the stigmas of social marginalization that still prevail in our society. He was black, poor, and insane. His particular way of seeing the world opened new possibilities for thinking about artistic practice, inspiring artists and rupturing various fields of knowledge and distinct connections that are continuously renewed and updated. And we call his work and his mission as art. Art is a necessity for madness, or madness is a necessity for art. I don't know. Who came first? What do you think about this? You answer for us. No? I have a report from Monica Nador, your colleague at the university. She went to work at the Juqueri Hospital, located in the surroundings of São Paulo in 1982. She went there to give workshops in art at that big madness house too, like the Colônia Juliano Moreira, where Bispo Rosario lived. But to get know herself as her first proposal, she said needed to do that for her own knowledge. It's so interesting, this, no?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, Ricardo, I think now it's time for me to tell that story that I told you of my experience when I went to see Bispo do Rosario shows here in São Paulo in the end of last year. And then it was like empty, like even after the end of the pandemic, museums are quite empty. So I could take all the time to see the works by myself. And then I thought, oh, now I'm gonna read all the things that the guy wrote on the cloths, on the works. And then I was reading, and he is kind of organizing the word in sections, different sections. And then it makes so much sense for me. And I have this epiphany, like, oh my God, am I so crazy just like him, you know? Because I'm totally understanding, and I was totally understanding, totally agreeing with his way of thinking, or with the content on his works. And then I go on, and then I met this Manto, this image that is here up us, and I realize I have no clothes. Like, for me to go to heaven, you know, I was not prepared. Like, he spent his life preparing this robe for him to meet the Creator. Like, he tells about his work as something like a mission he should accomplish for God. And so he has a special cloth. And I thought, oh my God, I have to make my own cloth because I'm naked. And it was amazing because I was so confused and I was so emotional and feeling this identification on his process. And then now I'd like to show maybe some of those works that I made upon this subject, that is what you choose to wear for different situations. That is something very strong in our society. If you are a woman, if you're gonna marry, your bride dress, you know, as something full of fantasies and metaphors, is always white and long and pure. And then you have all the clothes for, see there are, this is a work, I put there some works from the 80s. This is some coats that I paint just the yellow and the orange, and let the fake fur above fake fur. And so you have this image and you have the texture as something very elegant, like movie stars can dress on an Oscar night. And then we can move the image. Here is another coat. It was my mother's coat, and she was a landscape designer. So she was always in the garden, and she still is. And so I put her coat in the middle of this big garden. Yeah, we may change. And then football, like sports, demand also special clothes with numbers, with sponsors. And this was a collection of t-shirts. There's not just football, but it was in the 90s. Oh, it was in the 80s. I made this. And the next. Yeah, sports again, and then many kind of sports like basketball and football, baseball, and always with those strong colors. This is something that I was very interested about. I think the word has this crazy thing about sports and the dress like they are heroes. And so you have to have a Messi t-shirt. Is the winner in Argentina. So we made change. And here is sports again. I really love football, I may say this. And then I guess the next images are rock and roll t-shirts that I put together in this button shape object painting. And here starts some projects that I made, something that have to do with cloths. But after going to the Bispo show, I made some special drawings that you can see now.
Yes.
Like this, like a crazy blue dress. I don't know how to put it together, but I'm trying it right now on the studio.
Sounds me a
and the
manto
next
too.
one,
A Tupinambá
yeah,
manto.
yeah, my own manto. And then this pink one. And the last one is very beautiful too, like this brown one. So it has some arms that cross a little bit. It was all very inspired on this idea of having a special cloth for transcendental trip, you know, to transcend, to change of dimension. This is so interesting because I believe in art. Sometimes we have those epiphanies, and then you have different realities. I think arts, when it's powerful, it changes your mind just on the visual signs, on the suggestions, on the poetry.
The last image.
I think this is the last image.
I saw a lot of relations with the work of Bispo de Rosario on the first image, when the first works you presented us, no? The idea of accumulating things from the day of life, no? The day by day, no? Also, a kind of listing too, no? And when we see the last image we have here, I asked for Carla to put some image from Bispo de Rosario. We can see this, no? This idea of the accumulation. And there is some, there is some works that is we never show of Bispo Rosario. Is the cover of this this object we used to call vitrines. He did this cover for the vitrines and made of plastic, bag plastics. That sounds very much with this the way you work. The shirts of football players, no? Do you see this parallel with the work of Bispo de Rosario? What do you think about this?
I think it is amazing when you see, because he was able to work for many years, and so I saw Luis Orama's biennial, and where it was lots of works of him, and always there's something that I haven't seen, something new that I didn't know, and so I imagine he was working for, I know that he works all the time, but for a long time, and I think it's very interesting to check his process. It seems like the idea is always organization, but sometimes he made some delirious organizations, maybe some accumulations and repetitions, and I think it has much to do with mental process of creation in art.
Well, I wrote something here to help us to think about this work. I'm going to read this. I think I think after this we can talk a little bit more about the way Bispo de Rosario conceived it and organized the things and the objects. Defy the conventions of art, of what is art, although his work bears aesthetic affinities with modern and contemporary art. This was not his intention. He knew about his own life story, his surroundings, what he had, what we read in the magazines and newspapers he had access to. It is quite likely, therefore, that he did not know about the canons of art history or the art academy. Perhaps he was not interested in them, but we know it is possible that he had some contact with this world through artists who visited him in his cell. Whose names he recorded in this list he embroidered and wrote, like that of Rio de Janeiro artist Cláudia Hertz, or Patricia Huth, an artist of Atelier Gaia and one of Bispo's fellow patients, tells how he also visited the workshops held at Colônia Juliano Moreira, the hospital, the big madness house like Juqueri, where Bispo lived for the most part of his life, probably to see what the other patients were doing. Artists from the School of Arts, the artists visuals of Parque Lage, including Nelly Gutmacher and Carla Guagliardi, had confirmed that they visited him in the early mid-1980s. Psychiatry, Denise Correia, former director of the Colônia Juliano Moreira, tells how Bispo directed the visits in his cell. Go along this street, come through here. he organized his scenes, as you recall in the exhibition, all the existing materials on Earth, in a way like an exhibition. All the people who attend his production studio say that he was precisely aware of what he was making, that it was precisely not art, but could be.
Yes. But could be, you said. Yeah. You know, I think it's interesting for us to tell, because when he appears
in 1989,
in the 80s, there was
1989.
1989, yeah. So it was a kind of polemic, like, is this guy a crazy man, or is a crazy artist? Is him an artist or not? And in the beginning, it was like a movement, like, no, he's a guy from the hospital. He can't be an artist. He don't have the intention of being an artist. But I think so many things change from that moment to now. And I also remember one biennial in São Paulo where the curator was showing Walter Zanini, showing the production
1981 or 1983?
I think it was 1983, and I guess it was named In Common Art in, and it was made from people of institutions, and it was amazing. And then I had a chance to see this museum in France, where they show the production of people of the institutions, and it's of course it's art, you know, it's a little bit maniac and it's out of the system, but all the process of creating image is very close. I think it's the same. And after this, I became like Joseph Beuys. I agree his statement completely, that everyone could be an artist or is an artist if he's making something concentrated and with the intention of being an art. And so I think this is more fair and this is more inclusive. You can have all kinds of people producing images in all stages of society. Like now we are having another eyes for the some productions that were considered marginal, you know, outsiders, and they could be together. I think we are having a great moment. It is not very democratic, but it's trying to include people that don't came from art schools, but make art even though, you know.
In this exhibition we made on Itaú Cultural last year, we brought the artists that came from the hospitals together with the artists, the modern artists that go to the hospitals to applicate art in these ateliers. No, we have the first atelier was open at the Juqueri Hospital in São Paulo by Rosario César in the 20s. No, and we know that Flávio de Carvalho was working with Rosario César doing exhibitions and writing about the art of insane people, insane artists, and children. No? In the 1946, Almir Mavier and Nisa Silveira opened this atelier at Engenho de Dentro in Rio de Janeiro, in another hospital here in Rio. No? And many artists went to this studio, this atelier, to work with these artists. No? And what we shown at the exhibition in Itaú Cultural was two ways, two hands. No? The artists that go there saw something new for them. There is some artists in this atelier. No? We could say they renovate the Brazilian art at the 50s. There is one that is an abstract artist, no? And Sanson Flexo, Palatinic, Almir Vinier, Geraldo de Barros, those artists that was intricate. They were working with the concrete and the neo-concrete art in Rio. We could see this influence from this experience at the hospitals in Rio, in this hospital in Rio. No? Yeah. And of course, the exhibition will show also contemporary artists from the Museu Bispo de Rosario, no? The Atelier Gaia, no? Where we have some artists working until today. We're working today, no? This is the idea of this exhibition. Try to show how this work and how the art of these people contributed to the Brazilian art, no?
And you have also
yes, we didn't talk about
Ricardo, because he got a great impact on Bispo work.
He was one of the most affected, no, by the Bispo de Rosario.
Maybe start to write poems and things on his paintings that become soft paintings made on soft objects, and then he embroidery some words with curious meanings. Sometimes it's not very clear, some names, and he also made a list of name of actors that he likes or place that he likes to go. He made some maps, some mental maps of activities. It was very close to Bispo process also. It has influenced
there is an
him
interview
a lot.
made by Lisette Lenhado where Leonilson talked about this, no? About this, we could say influence, I don't know, or we could say impact. I don't know which is the best word for that. Some artists, they don't like to say he was influenced by another artist, no? We could say impact on Leonilson's work. What I most see on transformation in Leonilson after he saw this exhibition held at the Museum of Contemporary Art of the University of São Paulo in São Paulo in 1990.
Which museum?
MAC USP, the Museum of Contemporary Art of the University of São Paulo. Yeah. In 1990, I was responsible for the mounting of the exhibitions at that time. I was responsible for opening the crates of this exhibition. It was a terrifying experience. And what I see on the Leonilson work, the transformations after that, was the intense use of the words, no? The word.
Yeah, sure.
He used it before fabrics, but after that also he used more fabrics on his work and started embroidering, no, like a language, no.
He gave up on canvas. He most gave up canvas and start to work above materials which bring meanings for the work, you know, like velvet or...
I think it was one of the, in this interview, Leonilson told to Lisette Lenhado, what most impressed him on the work of Bispo do Rosario was the texture, the aspect of poverty, yes, pobreza, poverty,
Yeah.
Yes, the precarity of the materials, the aspect of precarious, the work of this Rosario has. Yeah. That is the most impressed Leonilson, and of course, this transformed the way of the process of Leonilson of working, But for you, did you see this exhibition, and how was for you at that time? There was an impact, or
I thought it was fantastic, but I don't know. I think, in my opinion, some shows of Bispo were a little bit hard to see, like to understand, because sometimes there are too much things together, and sometimes too out of context works. And so I always like it, but I never realized how intense it was until this last one that I saw. Maybe he got me, because his intentions were so strong and so direct.
Let me ask you something.
Like, have no.
Let me ask you something about what? This. You were talking. You were saying. You're talking. We are talking. You are saying. It's because of the mounting of the way of we mounting the exhibition, the way we display the work of Bispo do Rosario. Do you think so? There is an influence of that, the way it was shown.
I thought it was very interesting to see the artists you put together, and then also the video when we can see him like dancing or walking with the manto. His own figure is very impressed, and the way he talks, because we can see on the video too, it is very objective, like there's no other subject, just the things that he's doing, like his job, the thing of organizing the word for God, feel his fate,
Did you see the film of Hugo Denizar? This film, let me see here the name of the film. He made in 1982. Hugo Denizar was a psychiatrist that worked at Colônia Juliano Moreira, and he made some photos we saw in the exhibition in São Paulo. But in this interview, Hugo Denizar asked to Bispo do Rosario, I think the most important question there, probably, if what Bispo were doing was art. He asked this for Bispo do Rosario, and he told him, he answered him, no, it's not art, but I know I will be known in the future because of what I am doing now. It's wonderful.
Oh, see?
he knew he was doing something important for us. It's a very simple thing. It's a very simple work, but it's so.
Ricardo, he does, and also when I'm teaching, and students ask, oh, how can I be famous? How can I be a great artist and get recognition? And I said, you don't have to do anything, just the work, because if you made a work, and this work is profound, it has a truth, and then you got it, like the work will take you there, like you concentrate on your production and giving because the artist has to be a bit generous, like give your ideas and show your inside world for the others. And so if you get it, this is what matters. There's no influencer, there's no curators, there's nothing. There's just the work, you know. As we were talking before, you were talking about Van Gogh, which was kind of crazy, and had no recognition during all his life. But then the work is everything for us now, you know. You see, so the images, I believe this very much, and I try to make it myself, like a synthesis, very important synthesis. And this we can see on the best artists' works, and also in Bispo works too, because the much he made, the same line he follows, you know, it's really something very intense. And I think it reminds us also how crazy we are too, you know, how many what is this word in English? Manias. We are kind of maniacs. Everybody has some.
I saw an exhibition at Morgan Library in 2011. It was a very curious exhibition. It was only about list of artists. The name of the exhibition was List to Does, no? Illustrated numerations from the collections of the Smithsonian Archives of American Art. And there was all kinds of lists, no, of artists. List of artists of supermarket, list of art of materials, list of things to do. No, it's a wonderful exhibition, wonderful exhibition. And this is one of the things that people use to identify as a madness. Art madness, yeah. Art from the asylum. No, I don't know how can say. I don't like the art brute. I don't like these definitions for the art made for these people. No, for these artists.
What kind you prefer?
I don't know. I don't know. For me, it's art. There is no. I don't like. I don't like the.
For time, it's
yeah. Yeah,
income.
Probably could be. No, I don't know how to do that, because people used to say art brute, art naive, art of wild, something like that. No, many words to try to explain this. I think in the most virgin art virgin. It's another expression for that, and I think I prefer, because it's virgin art, no, because there is no influence, there is no. It's completely free, completely. No?
Curious. Let me see. I see we are ending the time, and so I'll show a little bit my studio. I'll show something that I made right now. It is named Goddess, and ask Leo Nilsson all. He start. I like to say. I like to think that he starts sewing after me, but I've been sewing a lot, and now I'm putting all kind of images that I found together. Oh, here my studio, the new works. It will be about cloths. Maybe I got a cloth, and there's the other rooms, the other works. So this is my space for whom are still there.
Oh, nice. Well, we are going to the end of the meeting. I'd like to know if there is some question from the audience. Carla can write for me here if there is some questions. Question to Leda. Can you see, Leda? Can you see if there is some question for you?
No, I can't. I just see people coming in to the... Hi, Carlos. We can see people coming in, but I don't see any questions. Did you wrote
Not for me. Well, I'd like to say I really love your work, Leda. I heard some interviews you gave or some seminars you did, and what I really love on your work or on your way of speaking about your work is the simplicity you say. You tell us about your work. This is the most important thing for me. And of course, we can do a parallel with the simplicity of Bispo do Rosario. No, I heard one of these these seminars you were doing at Maki USP. You were talking about that work you did with sockers. No? As the way you did, as the way you collected the sockers at the neighbors, no, with the neighbors. Was so funny. It was so nice to hear that. Yeah, yes. Well, I'd like to thank for the audience and of course thank you, Leda, for doing this this how can I say this online talk. No?
I guess we have some 7 minutes. We may talk longer.
There is for more 5 minutes. Yes, right. We can talk about this. You can talk. You can tell us about this work. How do you did this work? It's so interesting.
No, like it was here in the on the talk, that work of t-shirts. I took all the t-shirts that I had and the t-shirts of my sister and my brother. But then I was making another work with socks, and I took some of mine, my boyfriend and my sister. But then it was still missing, and socks. And then I asked to the neighbor, do you have some socks that you don't use? Could you give to me, like I need on my work? And then my boyfriend, he was completely, are you asking for the socks of the neighbor? And then the neighbor, she threw from the wall, you know, she threw it and it falls on my house. It was quite funny, but I use everything. Like I put them together and then I painted over. It was something about, in my mind, it was something about going through a same way, same road, all the little foots turned to the left. And so that was the work.
I'm asking that because this is the way, or one of the ways of Bispo Rosario did his work, no? Asking for people, for example, the word in Portuguese is cambo. It's a kind of exchange, no? Bispo gave to the other patients security, no? Or things like cigars, no? And these people, these patients, they brought to Bispo do Rosario, for example, wood. These materials that we see in his work, you know, all kinds of things, no? And it's nice. This is the way Bispo did too, no? Asking for exchange, donations, no? Yeah.
Something that I always observe on his work is the color of the line, you know, because he used a blue for a long time because from the uniform, then he turns to white, and it's so expressive. It's
yes,
quite
this
amazing.
blue you see on his work came from the uniforms. Bispo, how can I say this in English? He desfiava, how can I say? Oh my God, I forgot the word.
He pulled line from his
and
own
then he redo again the line to do the embroideries, no? And it's interesting to see because we have some tones of blue, no? You have a dark blue, you have almost white blue, no? This came from the use of the uniforms. That is the new uniforms and the used uniforms, no? And it's nice, so it's so beautiful, no? This predominance of blue.
It's interesting because all these particular nuances of blues, it is so meaningful when you know that it came from his own clothes, like he was going naked because he destroyed all his clothes to put on the work. It was always this idea of giving, of working and giving everything to the work, all the energy to the pieces, and this is something you can feel when you see the show.
You can feel the texture of the materials, the use of the materials, no, the smell of the materials. Everything is there, no. This is well. I think there is no any question. I don't see. Yes,
I'd like to thank American Society for inviting me for this meeting. It was really great. I hope you enjoy our talk. And thank you, Aime. Thank you, Carla.
Yes. Well,
thank you
I'd like Leda.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you, Leda, again for this experience hearing you here. I'd like to thank you again to Carla for the patience, and of Aime and Teles, no, our co-curator too of the exhibition, Javier Teles. No? And I'd like to remind people that is in New York. No? We have this exhibition running at the American Society, no, at Park Avenue. The show's closed on May 20. For who is coming to New York or who is in New York, don't lose this show. That's it. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye, Ricardo. Bye, everyone. Thank you, everybody who's in the room.